Yeah, so this week we are ready to tackle the sixth Dibra, which is Lo Sirtzach. Let's remember what we're trying to do. We're working along the thesis that the Aseres HaDibros, you remember we showed that they weren't synonymous with Aseres mitzvahs because there are more than 10 mitzvahs. According to the Rambam, there are 14 mitzvahs. According to the Ramban, at least there are 11 mitzvahs. So Aseres HaDibros is something other than 10 mitzvahs. So if it's not mitzvah, so what exactly is a dibra? So we find out that the Aseres HaDibros are the constitutional principles upon which a Mamleches Koyanim v'Goy Kodesh is to be built. That each one of the dibros is, besides its mitzvah characteristic, which of course they are mitzvahs, but besides that mitzvah characteristic, it also has a deeper way of understanding the particular mitzvah. Either the mitzvahs aseh if it's a mitzvahs aseh, or the avera if it's a mitzvahs lo aseh, which touches upon the constitutional principles of what would make a mamleches kohanim v'goy kodesh into a mamleches kohanim v'goy kodesh. So we've done that with the first 5 dibros, and now we get to lo sirtzach. Now, Lo really, it's almost like a problem for us. Like, what are we going to look at over here which can increase in any way the heinousness of just killing somebody? Killing somebody is such an awful thing that, what more can there be than simply the evil of killing him? Lo don't kill, don't murder. Now, fact is that the Ramban over here, very, very strange, that the Ramban, sort of without batting an eyelid, he comes and expands this concept of Lo Sirtzach, mamish unrecognizably even. Let's see what the Ramban says over here. That's in Perek Chof, Pasuk Yud Gimel, Yud Aleph, Lo Sirtzach, Lo Sinov, Lo Signov. So he's talking about all the 3 there together, but we're only going to be dealing with Lo Sirtzach tonight. So what's this Lo Sirtzach? Oma. So the Pasuk says, when the Pasuk says Lo Sirtzach, what the Pasuk is saying like this: Hinei tzivisicho lehoidos she'ani boirei hakoil b'leiv u'b'maseh. Says, look, I have commanded you to agree, to affirm that I am the one who created all, and that affirmation is supposed to be believe. That's the first of the dibros. Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher tzisicha me'eretz Mitzrayim, uv'maseh, which is lo yir lecho Elohim acherim al ponai lo zishtachave Elohim v'lo yisrav them. That is the leiv of the maseh. So Ramban, in explaining Lo Sirtzach, starts with saying the following: look, I've already commanded you that you are to affirm that I am the Boirei HaKoil, and you are supposed to affirm that both in your heart and in your actions. Furthermore, I've also commanded you, Ulechabed ha'ovos, that's the 5th Dibra, Kabed es avicha v'esimecha. I also commanded you to honor your parents, Bavush shehem mishtatfim b'yitzira, because they are part of the creation. I was the one who really created, but they are an indispensable partnership with me in that. Now that we know that creation is a very important thing, I commanded you with 2 mitzvahs, b'leiv u'b'maseh, and your parents. So really 3 of the preceding 5 mitzvahs deal with the chashivas of a created being. In Cain, now that you know that something that is created is so chashuv, in Cain, hishomer pen techbal ma'asai. So don't kill anybody, because if you were to kill anybody, you are destroying my creation. Pen techbal ma'asei yodi, I should say, I'm sorry. V'sishpach dam ha'odam, and you're shedding human blood. Asher borosi lichvodi. Why did I create this man? We've established by those 3 dibros that creation is something very choshev. Now, why did I create this person? I created him lechvodi, because that his life should be a kavod for me, that the kind of life that he lives should be an honor to me, and should make people understand the Goiskeit of the Rebbeinu Shalom through a life well lived, potentially every Yid is living a life of Kiddush Hashem. Now you go and kill this Yid. Yeah, and what are you doing? You're being choivel maaseh yodai. You're destroying my creation, and you're tishbach dam ha'adam asher borasi lichvayde ulehoidos li b'chol ele. Two reasons why I created him. I created him so that his life should be a kavod for me, and second of all, that he should praise me and assert and affirm all these truths which are contained in the Aseres HaDibros. So what the Ramban is saying over here is something unbelievably chiddishdik, and that is, who is the aggrieved party when you kill somebody? So normally we would have said, without this Ramban, we would have said, who's the aggrieved party? The aggrieved party is the victim, the person who you're murdering him. He has a right to live, he has the right to go on living, and now you have murdered him. So he is the aggrieved party. Zog der Ramban, he doesn't even talk about the person as the victim. He says the victim k'viyochel is the Rebbeinu Shalom, because in murdering a person, you have murdered that which is most precious to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that is each individual person. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom created him lichroidai, and he created him to affirm and to assert all the emes which a Yid is called upon to affirm and to assert, and now you nipped that life in the bud, so now that life isn't there anymore, so you've taken something very precious away from you. That's unbelievable. I mean, there's nothing sort of twisting the Ramban's arm to say this over here. Like, what is the Ramban? The Ramban holds you need a hesber. Why there's an Isav Loisirzach? I think this Ramban confirms very, very, very clearly the thesis which I am propounding, namely, that he's looking for dimensions within, let's say, Loisirzach. The truth is that as the Ramban goes on, he also talks about Loisinov and Loisigzol, but that's for another week. So, but Legaber, the Loisirzach, he's looking for another dimension. And what is the dimension that he finds? The dimension that he finds is that you are wounding Kaviyachai, the Rebbeinu Shalom, because you're taking away this precious possession. The Rebbeinu Shalom created him, stressed his role as a creator, stressed the parent's role because creation is such a significant thing, and now you are taking away this created being, this unique created being. Unbelievable. So Ratzicha then, besides the heinousness of the crime of taking away human life, you're doing something terrible to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Very, very interesting. So it's kedai for us to look a little bit at how the Torah views murder. What is really taking place when you murder somebody? So the truth is that there are two other parshias of murder in the Torah. One of them is the parsha in Noach, that right after the Mabul, the Rebbeinu Shalom commanded Noach, among other things, that you're henceforth allowed to shecht animals, but you're not allowed to kill people. So we'll have to have a look at that parsha for a moment, because we're going to see something over there which is also very, very chiddishdik. And then we have in Bamidbar, when we have in Maseh, when we have the halachas of the Orei Miklat, you also have the concept of murder discussed in very, very chiddishdik terms. And it seems to me, although the Ramban does not say it in either way, in either place, in so many words, but it seems to me that in both those places, what he does say is yoinek from what he says in the Shoyrish of the Israel Tzich, which is the Aseres HaDibros, and that he says that it's the Rebbeinu Shalom who's being hurt. Now let's have a look what it says in Noach. That's in Perek Tes, and he talks about we all know that after the Mabul things changed. Originally, Adam Arishon was only allowed to eat vegetation, but now after the Mabul, for reasons which we don't have to discuss now, it's not part of the Isser Ritzicha Sugya, the Rebbeinu Shalom said, no, from now on you are going to be allowed to eat the animals also. But you're not allowed to eat it while it's still alive. That's the Is of Eva Minachai. Let's leave that. Now, the next posuk, that's Perek Tes, posuk Hey. V'ach, estinchem lenashosechem, ed rosh. Your lives, if somebody kills you, I am going to be doirish that dam. I'm going to insist that restitution be made. Miyad kol chayo ed roshena. If a chayo were to kill you, I would be doirish from that chayo that it has to be killed. We'll see in a moment. Umiyad ha'odam miyad ish achiv es ed rosh es nefesh ha'odam. And also from human killers. In other words, from animal killers, and from human killers, I'm going to be doirish his life. We'll see that in a moment in greater arichos in the Ramban. Shoifer dam ha'odam. If somebody sheds human blood and mark, according to the Pshuta Shal Mikra, the Ramban is going to point out, that goes on the animal also. Shoifer dam ha'odam. Ba'odam dam ha'yishofech. Has to pay with his life. Why? Ki b'tselem Elokim also es ha'odam. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom created man b'tselem Elokim. Now, what that reason is, we've talked about it before, I think, in the past, let's say for Ikram, but we'll leave that now, because that is not the point which I want to bring out over here. What I do want to bring out over here is, what does it mean that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to be doirish, the shed blood, from the animal who killed him? And let's read what the Ramban says over here. Miyad kol chayo ed roshena. Toma ani, the Ramban says. He says, I don't understand. Im drisho kemishmo, if drisho over here means literally what drisho means in the rest of the posuk, where it says shoyv adam ha'odam ba'odam dam yishofech miyad ish ochiv ed rosh es nefesh ha'odam, it means insisting on punishment. Im drisho kemishmo miyad hachayo k'moy miyad ha'odam liyosh oynesh bedover. Drisho implies punishment. So if it means literally over here that I'm going to demand a punishment from the animal just as I'm going to punish the man who kills another man, but the punishment is not shayach by an animal who has no understanding, or she should be rewarded. Well, what kind of business is that? You're saying the lashon of the pasuk is that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to be doirish from the chaya and from the behemoth if they kill another human being. So doirish by order means I'm going to insist that he gets killed. That's the next pasuk. Shoyfer dam ha'odam b'odam dam ha'yishofech. So what on earth does it mean? I'm going to be doirish from the chaya. What's he going to be doirish from the chaya? It has no seichel, and therefore the concept of punishment isn't applicable, and the concept of schar is not applicable. So what does it mean? So the Ramban says, "V'ulai yi yekain be'inyan dam ha'odam." Maybe this is something unique to the act of killing a person. I'm sorry, I left out the word levada. Yeah, v'ulai yi yekain be'inyan dam ha'odam levada. Why? Shekol ha'chayo shetitrov oisoi titoref, that any chayo who kills him shall be killed. Ki gzeras hamelech. It's a gzeras hamelech. So the Ramban is unbelievable. The Ramban started out asking a kasha. Dorash means to punish, and the Lashon makes very clear that the animal too is punished if it kills a person. Frag the Ramban, how is it shayich schav oynish by an animal since it doesn't have any seichel? So the answer is it's the gzeras hamelech. So what does that mean? But the Ramban goes on. We'll come back to the gzeras hamelech in a moment. V'zeh tam sokol yisokel hashoy v'lo yochel es b'sorai. Oh, we talk about in Mishpatim that if a shoy kills a person, it's a shoy haniskel. He comes to Bezdin. You have to bring the shoy to Bezdin, and the dying paskins that he has to be killed. When the Torah says over there in Mishpatim that you have to kill the animal that killed a person, it's not in order to punish the owner of the ox that he didn't look after him, and therefore we're going to take away his money. No, it's a punishment for the animal. Because the fact is that even a hefketika shoy is chayiv misa if he killed somebody. So that's not a punishment to anybody because nobody owns him. So it must be that it's a punishment for the animal. And now we see even a bigger chiddush that chiyuv that punishment which is meted out against the animal is even by the animal of a Ben Noach, like by Yisrael. V'yitam shoyfer dam ha'odam. So what does it mean, shoyfer dam ha'odam? Kol shoyfer damam. Ben chayo ben odam. V'hinei domai nidrush bebeis din uvidei shamayim. Wow. Hestas, according to the Ramban, it's mashma that you take the animal, even in Dinei B'nei Noach, you have to take it to Beis Din. And Beis Din should pass that it gets killed. The animal gets punished. Now what on earth does that mean? So the Ramban asks the Kasha, what does it mean? If there's no schar, no einish possible, because he doesn't have any seichel, so then what do you mean that you have to punish it? Zog the Ramban, it's a Gzeres HaMelech. But what does Gzeres HaMelech mean? So I think that the Ramban over here is thinking of what he said in Yisrael, that when you kill a person, you're hurting the Rebbeinu Shalom. So then the pshat over here in Gzeres HaMelech, I think, would be like this. This is how I would word it. David HaMelech said in Tehillim, HaShamayim Shamayim Lashem V'Oretz Nasan Lifnei Adam. The Rebbeinu Shalom is in Shamayim, and the Bnei Oretz he gave to Bnei Adam. But there's nothing on this earth that can hurt Kiviyochel, the Rebbeinu Shalom, who's in Shamayim. Nothing can touch him. Except the Adam can touch him. He can make a Chilul Hashem, because he has a neshama also. So he has a chelik of the Rebbeinu Shalom within himself. Elokai neshama shnasata bi tehayrahi atavosata yitzata nefachta bi. I have a neshama. So Mimela, the Ramon in Seven Vov in Erechaim talks about Roife Kolboso Maflila says, what's the miracle? The miracle is that neshama and guf can be together in one unit. That's a miracle. So we, with our actions, can kaviyochel touch the Rebbeinu Shalom. But an animal has nothing about Shamayim in her. She's a chunk of earth. Not, you remember we said the Ramban says, by Odom it says, Nase Odom v'tzalmeinu kidmuseinu. The earth should make the body and I give the soul. But by Behemoth that's not that way. She's a plain piece, she's a chunk of earth. So how can the cow touch the Rebbeinu Shalom, Kaviyachal, and hurt the Rebbeinu Shalom? But there's one way that she can. In other words, when she kills a man, so Kaviyachal, she's touching Shamayim. She's touching Shamayim through damaging the Odom. Like the Ramban said in Yisrael, that when you kill the person, you're killing the Rebbeinu Shalom had created him in order that that he should be marbitz covered of the Rebbeinu Shalom. So the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's the Gzeres HaMelech. My dear Carl, you went beyond that. Your Olam is the Olam of the Olam Hazeh. Ha'oretz nasan livnei Adam. So you are not even a neshama person. So you're mamash, you belong down on the earth. You have no business on encroaching into Shamayim. In other words, when an animal walks through somebody's cornfield and tramples on the farm, that's what a cow is supposed to do. So she didn't know that she's not supposed to walk in this field. But that's what a cow is doing, what the cow is doing. She acts within this world in a way in which a cow is supposed to act in this world. Oh, but you go and kill a man. What are you doing? You're encroaching into the heavens. Gzeres HaMelech. You'll get killed for that. You have no right to function outside the sphere which I determined for you. No matter the Ramban, when you think about it. The other Ramban, which is also very, very interesting, is over there in Maseh, in Bamidbar Perek Lamed Hey. There we're talking about the Ore Miklot. So in Posuk Lamed Aleph it says, "V'lo sikro koifer nefesh v'tzeach, asher hu rosh lomus kimos yomus." You're not allowed to take koifer. If he's a very rich person, the murderer, and he says, "Look, I'll pay you this and this amount of money. Please don't kill me." You're not allowed to take koifer. He has to get killed. Furthermore, and also if he wants to pay in order to free himself from going to the Ore Miklot when he killed somebody b'shoigeg, he wants to go back out of the Ore Miklot to go back to his home, you're not allowed to take koifer from him. Now, why do I forbid all this koifer business? Now comes the posuk which interests us. Because you should not cause the earth to be chonef. We'll see in a moment what chonef means. Asha'aten bo. Ki hadamu yachanev es ha'oretz. The blood that is shed will be chaynef, will make the earth into a chaynef. Now what does it mean, Yachanifu, Sachanifu? So Rashi says, Loi sarshiu ketaguma loi sachayvon. Rashi says, you know what Hachanifu means? To make chayiv, to make guilty. But the Emma says that's not what it means. And the Ramban Taka takes it literally. Let's see what the Ramban says. V'loi sachanifu es ha'oretz. So he says like this: She'elu hamishpotim noegim gam b'chutz la'oretz. You're not allowed to kill, not only in Eretz Yisrael, you're not allowed to kill anybody in chutz la'oretz either. Chozer v'hechmir b'yoshvei ha'oretz yoser. So he says, although there's a crime of killing somebody in chutz la'oretz, but killing somebody in Eretz Yisrael is worse. Lichvoit hashchina asher sham. Because the Shekhinah is in Eretz Yisrael. So if the Shekhinah is in Eretz Yisrael, so killing a person is that much worse. Now, the Hizir, Shloi Nachanif Oisa, or Shloi Netame Oisa. That's what it says in the Pasuk. Yeah, but Oisa Tame Oisa Oretz Asher Atem Yoshvim Bo, Asher Ani Shochen B'Soicho, Ki Ani Hashem Shochen B'Soich B'nei Yisrael. I'll read the two Psukim again. V'loi Sachanifu Oisa Oretz Asher Atem Bo, Ki Adamu Yachanif Oisa Oretz, ולאורץ לא יחופ על אדום אשר שופח בו כי אם בדם שופחו ולא שתמא את האורץ אשר אתם יושבים בו אשר אני שוכן בסויחו כי אני השם שוכן בסויח בני ישראל זוג הרמב"ם והזהירו שלא נחנף עשו או שלא נטמא עשו. Two things: don't be מחנף לארץ, don't be מטמא. ועניין החנופה הוא הנאמרו בכלולוס. He says, you know what chanufa is? I'll give you the translation right here. Chanifa is hypocrisy. Doing one thing and seeming to do one thing and really doing another. What is Chanifa? What is the Chanifa of the Oretz? It says by the Klolos, Zera Roif Rav Toitzi Asode, you're going to have bumper harvest, you're going to have enormously big harvest, Um'ate Esof, and it's all going to get spoiled. In practice, you're only going to get a small amount of it. In other words, the land is being hypocritical. It's bringing forth a huge harvest, but then it's allowing spoilage to set in, so that from that huge harvest you get very, very little. The whatever those things are called, the locusts are going to come and take them. Ki kol chanufa, what is chanufa? Not like Rashi says that it's guilt. Ki kol chanufa asois heper hanirev animidnenaim. Chanufa is that when you actually do the opposite of what you seem to be doing. V'hu oynesh ba'oretz ba'avodah zorah v'shvichas domer v'gilui haroyes. K'mo shenema halachon avtechanef ha'oretz v'oretz chan fatachas yashvei and so on and so forth. V'inyin hatumah is shentiye ha'oretz tameya v'lo yishkon ba kvoit Hashem b'yosh b'dam noki shlo niskape b'dam shofra. Okay, that's what tum is. Now, what's going on over here? The Ramban is not learning like Rashi. Rashi learns guilt. Guilt, we know more or less what guilt is. Why is the punishment of Retzicha? The Ramban says it's also by its nose and also by the Zohar. But I'm sure the cheshbon is different by each one. I want to know, why is the Chanifa of the Oretz the appropriate punishment for murder? What's the punishment again? What's Chanifa? That the earth is going to produce a bumper harvest and it's going to disappear. The locusts are going to come and eat it up. It's going to get spoiled, and from this whole huge harvest you're going to get very, very, very little that you're able to eat. Why is that an appropriate punishment for murder? Well, because that's mamish the pshat. That's mamish the pshat. What are you doing when you murdered? What did we see that the Ramban says in Yisrael? You're taking away the teichen of the person. The teichen of the person was that the Rebbeinu Shalom was boirehem lechvaydai. So what are you doing when you kill the person? When you kill the person, it's keilu, you're ignoring what he really is. You're ignoring what he really is. What is he really? He's really a chunk of Kiddush Hashem. Now you're treating him like he was just a denizen of this world. You don't like him, he made you angry, wham, you kill him. and you don't understand that there's more to it inside than you realize, that the teichen of the person is a lot more than you did. You treated his guf and refused to be goylus the fact that he is a shtik kvod shamayim. And now that is taka, the middle connected middle of that is the chanifa of the land. That the land produces a guf without a neshama. It produces vast crops which don't have the ability to feed you. It looks like one way, but it does something else. It looks like it's feeding you, it's producing a guf, but it's denying the guf its neshama. What is the point? What is the teichen of a huge harvest? It's that it should be able to make you have a huge eating, and you should have enough food. But the earth is not going to do that. It's going to look as though it's giving you a lot of food, but it's not going to produce food altogether. It's going to give very, very little, because it's all going to be disappearing. So that is the einish of Retzicha according to the Ramban in Yisrael. So I think that both the Rambans, which we learned just now, the one in Noach and the one in Maseh, are both, although he doesn't mention the Yesod which he says in Yisrael, that the evil of murder is because you're taking away the Bria of the Rebbeinu Shalom, whom he created, l'chvoidai, but both of them are yoinek from that svara. The one in Noach is yoinek from that svara because it makes the animal punishable. Why? Because it left the surroundings within which it is b'teva limited. It's an earth denizen, right? What does it do? It kills a person and damages ki'ilu the Rebbeinu Shalom in Shemayim. Yochayv Misa. Same thing with the harvest over here. It looks like one way. It looks like an enormous harvest that's going to give you plenty to eat, and it doesn't deliver. And that's the same thing over here. The person looks like a physical person, and you ignore his pnim, that he's really a chunk of kvod shamayim. So here we have, by looking at these two other pashas of Noach and Maseh, we have the broader dimension of Yitzchak, which, tainet before, what could be worse than simply killing a person? What could be worse than simply killing a person is that you're ki'ilu making the Rebbeinu Shalom a victim. And that is the dimension of Yitzchak which makes it a Dibra.